over Google Sites. My name is Nicole Howes, and I am one of the instructional technology coaches here for the district. Excited to have you all here with us today. I did want to let you know that you can get this slide deck by going to the bit.ly that you will see here down on the bottom under my name. So if you go to this information here, you will be able to get the slide deck shared to you, and you can keep it in your drive and use it as a reference to go back to. So that's kind of how we recommend using this. Today, I'm going to be jumping back and forth between this slide deck and Google Sites to kind of give you the opportunity to build a Google site as we go along, but then also make sure that I'm covering everything for you as we go. Like I said, we are expecting a large group today. So if anybody sees anything in the chat that I happen to miss, please wave me down or unmute yourself and ask the question, or unmute and let me know that there's something in chat, because I'm trying to go back and forth between two screens here. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. Once you get into this this slide deck, you're going to see that we have a short outline here for you of how we're going to be building a Google site, some of the things that you can do in there. And then also I've provided some Google sites that are examples from around the district. So these are all teacher sites, as well as our Google site that is up here on the top. You may know something about the website that the schools have, and they may have asked you to put some information on there. If you look at our department on that website, you'll see that it's actually a link to this web address, and that's okay to do. So when you build a website today, if you want to, you could always link that to your school website as your information, and then it will always just take them to another spot. So again, this is our website built with the same Google tools that we'll be using today. So getting to Google Sites, there are actually two different ways that you can do that. This one here is a live link, so you could click on that if you are on the slide deck. You can also go to what's affectionately called your waffle. So you would need to go to a new tab for Google Chrome, and then you would see that waffle. And then when you click on that, I'm going to switch it over here for you. When you click on your waffle, yours may be in a different site, but it looks like this little icon here, and it says sites. Either way, it's going to get you to the same place, and you'll end up in this location. Now, if this is your first time building a site, yours may look a lot different than mine. You may not have as many here. These are all sites that I have either worked on or been collaborators on or have opened at some point. So lots of sites in my kind of library space right now, but don't worry about those along the bottom, because all we're going to start with to get started is the blank slate. So you'll just click that plus sign, and it'll get you into a very boring blank Google site to get started. Like I said, I'm going to be jumping back and forth now in between our presentation and this Google site. You are welcome to kind of stay in Google Sites if you want, or follow along, or if you have two screens or two windows or whatever, you can do it, whatever's comfortable for you. Let me get you back here. All right. Once we're into Google Sites, like I said, this is kind of that blank page that is not very interesting to start out with, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to really personalize this yourself. So we'll start out with the name of your site and the title. So you'll see up here on the top, this right now is called an untitled site. And if you just click on that on your Google Site tab, you would be able to type whatever you want. Good news is you can always go back and edit that. So it's nothing that's permanent. You could always change it to something else later on. But I would recommend clicking it and making something for your title now so that you can find it later on when you're ready. You could have a different site name if you chose for it to be different, or it can be the same name as what you have for your title. Then there is a page title that goes in the center here. I'm going to jump into, again, my Google site just to show you the difference. On this one, when you click on it, you'll get all of the tools here that you can use. So if you do want to change The fonts, you have those options, obviously the size of it. But this is kind of your home page title. So a lot of times people do use the same thing that they would have for their site, or maybe it just says home. If this is a classroom website, it may say Mrs. Howe's second grade class. Whatever you want it to be, that's going to kind of be that first thing that your users are going to see when they come to your new web page. So take a second. These tools will be the exact same as any word processing that you've done before. Like I said, with fonts and sizes, obviously bold, italic, underlined, text color, you have all those different things to choose from there. So that's kind of a good starting point. Part of this page also has kind of this grayish background on it. And so you'll see a white box down on the bottom that says that you can change the image. And so in order to do that, you are simply going to click on that box and you get two options. You can upload an image from your computer, or you can select an image. So I'm going to go with select image right now just to show you the options that they offer. They have some that are kind of just basic, generic, but they're not bad, so they're good choices. You'll notice that when you find one that you like, it gets a blue check mark in the corner. And then you can simply press select, and it will change that background for you. Notice that down on the bottom, the kind of little stars here were sparkling or flashing off and on. And what that does is it makes a readability adjustment. You'll see that that happens a lot with the colors of pictures or images that are on your website as you're building it. And what that is it's just Google's way of making sure that it is, one, ADA compliant, so that anybody who has any vision impairment would be able to still read the page. If there was a picture underneath, they will make it so that the text stands out. And also they have features that, for example, you can turn on that it would read the page to them. So that's all part of what they're adjusting for to be able to make sure that that's working. The next part that you're going to see is how to kind of add your basic content. And so on the right-hand side of your Google site, you will see a section called Insert. And when you are in Insert, you'll get that underline there for it. You have a couple of different options. The basics to get started with are a text box and an image. And you simply click on one of those, and then you'll be able to add those to your site. The other piece that I said is under insert is images. And again, you have the option to upload or select. When you click upload, like I said, it's going to bring up what you have on your computer. So if you've taken a picture of the front of your school and you wanted to add that here, you could absolutely do that. You'd want to upload it to your computer first and then find it. I don't think I have any pictures, to be honest. This computer is brand new. Yeah, I don't have any pictures. But you'd be able to find them there and add them to your site as well. So kind of nice, especially if you're doing a classroom website and you wanted to add something, maybe it's, the front of your room or the front of the school or anything like that. You also have there what they call content blocks. This little arrow here, if it's pointing down, you can expand it and it will open up. So if it looks like that, it's okay. Just go ahead and open it. These content blocks give you a template for pictures and text boxes that they will automatically put in. So for example, if you know that you have 3 images you're going to be using, you may want to choose that one. And then you could just click on the plus sign and decide what you're going to put in this box. So an upload of an image, or you could select an image, or obviously from your drive, blah, 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 all of the different things that you could do. The ones that have the darker line, as well as the light gray lines, are the title right here, and then a smaller text box underneath it, which would be more of your content that you would be adding. So it's kind of nice that they have those templates in there already. If you choose a template and you decide you don't want it, along the side here, when you're in the space, you can actually press the trash can and it will go away. And so just to reiterate, let me explain here. You'll notice that when I'm down here, I don't have the trash can on the left and right. It's only going to be on this bottom one. But when I go up to this top one, then I have it there again. So the content boxes are kind of, or blocks are kind of nice to be able to give you a layout that you might want to try to use. You can always move those around, or like I said, delete them. You don't have to stick with those. All right. So we went over these four. Those are all found under insert. I wanted to go over a few other things that you could do with the things like your text box and your images. So let me go to this next slide as well. While this little GIF is playing for you, I'm going to explain it a little bit. So this will always show up in your slide deck. And it shows you how to move things around. So for example, there's a text box that you see right now going over the toolbar with things like bold and in italic. It will also show you that you can resize that text box, or you can do the same things with your images. So here you see the images being moved, and you'll notice that there's what are called grid lines on the sides of the image. Now we're going to go ahead and do some cropping. If you wanted to zoom in on the image, you could just drag that little dot across the line and it will make it smaller or larger in the box that you've got there already. So that gives you a zoom feature. You can also, as you see, resize that image. The other part here is now we're taking that text box and moving it around. You can put it on the side of an image. They don't have to be stacked on top of each other. Or in that last section right here was what they did was called snapping them together. And so you'll notice that anytime you're moving something around, it kind of gets that blue outline on it. And when you want to move them and put them together, there'll be a blue line in between the two. So you'll see where it's exactly going. So if you have something on your Google site right now, I would recommend kind of trying around with that, messing with it and moving it, trying to snap it together. You can unsnap it and move it again if you need to, but this is just a good opportunity to kind of see how you can format different things and make them the sizes and shapes, even different things that you want to be able to do with images and text boxes. When you are building a website, there are some things that are important to think about. We recommend that you kind of think about the website ahead of time and kind of map it out almost like a story map, like you would ask your students to do. Think about when you go to a website, you really are looking just for specific things. And so the idea would be to kind of make your own website cater to what you think someone is going to be looking for when they come to your site. That doesn't always, sometimes some of the things are required of a website. For example, I know if you are an inductee candidate, you may be here to build your website for that. And there are certain things you have to put on there, but there's still ways that you can make it eye-pleasing and make it so that the person who is using it finds it easy and user-friendly for them. We recommend leaving a lot of white space on your website, also making it graphically rich. So images are always better than a lot of text, or even video sometimes can be helpful, but again, you don't want to overload with that. And the final thing that I would say is making sure that your pages are short and focused. So Caleb Rothi is one of my coworkers, and he always says that if you do have more information and it's not fitting on there, it's always better to add another page as opposed to making somebody have to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So that's something that I've learned from him, and it does make a difference. And now when I go to other websites and I see that I have to scroll a lot, it is one of those things that I'm kind of like, oh yeah, that's not so great. I have to scroll back and forth all over the place. So think about those things as you're starting to design your website and build it and what you want on there. Some things that you don't want to do when you're building a website is you don't want it to be too much information or kind of a overload on the senses. This one has lots of different colors. There's some flashing going on. There's little small images down here on the bottom that are kind of opening up. Again, we give this to you as an example, and there is a link here that you could look at that has lots of bad examples. But we just wanted to kind of give you the point that think about when you go to a website, what you're looking for and how you would want your own website to be perceived by somebody else. So not too much, less is always more, and stick with those images as opposed to too much text. All right, let's do some building. This next part is going to walk you through kind of designing your website now. And so we're going to talk about themes. On the right-hand side of your Google site, again, last time we were in Insert. If you'll just skip over for me to where it says Themes and click on that, you should get some options that look similar, if not exactly the same as this. And the themes here are going to give you a blank slate that you can make it completely custom, which is basically what I've been using so far to show you how to insert things. Or you can scroll down and look at the themes that have been created by Google. So they will show you, they have different names on them. This is just 2 of them, but you'll see on here that this one is called Simple. This is the font that it uses, and this is the default background color. Now you'll notice that you have other color choices down here on the bottom. It is very limited. And so again, they kind of give you, they set you up for success, where it's an opportunity for them to kind of control a little bit what your website is going to look like, but still giving you some choices. So again, they do that for ADA and making it readable and accessible by everybody. Then you also have some options with your font style. So I'm going to switch back into Sites and just show you real quick. Again, you should be here with the themes, and you'll see all these different options that you can mess around with. When you click on one of those, you'll see that it changes a little bit what's going on here. Because I have put an image in the background, it keeps that image there unless I go and change that image back again. So I could always select the image like we did before, or I can upload an image, or I can change the color scheme of it. You'll notice that the title here has the box around it, just like this example, whereas if I were to click this one, now it just has that small line underneath it. So again, just kind of playing around with those and seeing what the style is going to be like. You can always change your style as it goes through. So if you are building it and it's just not looking the way you envisioned, you could come back here to themes at any point and click on a different one and see if that is more of what you were thinking. The next part that we have besides the themes is going to be adding some pages. So next to themes, or I should say in between themes and inserting, you'll have the option for pages. And so right now it's kind of blank. You'll notice here that you have your home page. Like I said, this very first one is going to be your home page. You can title it whatever you want. You can always go back and change this. You can resize things or adjust them, so you can always stretch them out. I would like it better on one line. I'm going to center it. You'll also notice at the top of that blue box, anytime you're on that, whether it's an image or a text box, you can click on what we call the egg crate to drag it around, and you'll kind of start to see where it's moving to. So it's kind of hard to see on this one, but there's an 4x4, I think it is, or is it 5? Might be 5x5. Little dots that you can grab. Once you have a home page, you are going to hit this plus sign down at the very bottom right-hand corner where you can add a new page. And we're going to start with just that. So I know there's 2 other options there, but let's start with just the new page. And we're going to go ahead and name this. So I'm going to have a home page, and then I'm going to have a page 1. Once you've named it, you'll notice that it shows up over here on the right-hand side. It also starts to show up along the top here. So now I could go to my starting point, which is my home page, and I can go back to page 1. So it kind of goes back and forth. You can add as many pages as you want. And just for example, I'm going to add another one to show you another piece. There you go. So they'll just keep adding along the top here in what's your menu bar or toolbar for your users to see when they come into your website. They won't see this part on the side.
Sorry, can I ask you a quick question?
Of course.
The image is the same on each page. Can we make the image different for each page?
Great question. You absolutely can change the image on every page. So let me go ahead and show you what that would be like. So now my home page is that same picture that it was before, but page 2 has the ocean water, I don't know what that is, look to the background of it. So you can definitely change. Every single page could be different. Good question. Another good fun thing to know about this is that sometimes you've probably seen on websites where they have a home page and then it has the little drop down arrow next to it. That's called nesting. And so what you do is when you take page one and you drag it and slide it up next to the home page where you're basically putting it inside the home page, then what happens is everyone that you do that same way is going to be now in this drop down section. So you can kind of see you can drag these around, move them around however you want, and then it kind of makes it a little bit cleaner up here on the top. That is totally up to you as far as preference goes. If you were just going to have, for example, a home page and then a page one and a page two, you may not need to put those inside of each other and make them collapsible or nested. You would just want to kind of decide how many pages you want up here. So, or tabs, they're sometimes called. So it depends on how much information you're going to have up there and if you want it to be a spot that's easily found or if people are used to going to a drop-down menu when they're looking for your items. So doing the pages that way makes it very easy for you to move them around, reorganize them. Like I said, you can change the order that they're in. So you can, if they weren't named in a number order, you could always move them around as well. All right, so once again, this page on the slide deck will show you how to do this. So if you forget, no worries, you can come back here and we've put a video in that'll show you how to do that. Some ideas for pages would be for you to have things like a home page, a parent's corner, homework, projects, calendar. Those would all be if you're doing a classroom website. And some of those examples that we linked in the beginning have really good samples of how they put this information out to their parents and students. I've seen teachers use websites for both families where it's just a place to kind of give the information, but also for students. So if they don't want to use Google Classroom, but they are regularly getting students to Clever, you could put a link in your Google website and have them go to Clever from there. So for example, students always open it and go to your website and then everything they need is there for them. If you are here for induction and building your site, I have added the requirements there for you. This is just the basic information. So if you are a year one candidate, you would need at least an introduction page, a CSTP growth and development page, and an impact on student success page. I would consider this like your homepage for both years, actually. So kind of that first one that we landed on, when you go to that, you would want to make sure that that information is on there. So for example, if I were here on this page and this is my homepage, it might say something like, your induction reflection, your name, the grade that you have taught, and then why. What did it say? Why do I teach? So you would be able to add all of that information right here on the very first page that someone would see. Also for induction, you have, if you are a year two candidate, your pages are a little bit different. So you would have a second page that would be developing as a professional educator, and then also a third page contributing to the profession. All of this information is from the induction website. So if you need it, I just thought this would kind of be a nice reference as we're going through this. If you wanted to start building those pages, you have it right here for you. All right. Now, once you've got all these pages, what the heck do you put on there? There are a lot of things that you can add. And so I'm going to go over for you how to insert things by embedding, also how to add something from your Google Drive, as well as some additional pieces that are down here that you can put in, for example, from YouTube or a calendar or a Google map, all of those options. So let me get back into sites. I'm going to go to a blank page here and I'm going to go into insert. So when you are on insert, remember we've already talked about the text box and the images. If you wanted to embed something that you have a URL for, so that would be the web address up here. For example, a YouTube video, that works really well. You can get that YouTube video and put that link right in. Let me see what I can find here. I'm going to just grab one really quick. Goodness gracious. So if I go to share and I copy this link, so all I did was copy that link. When I paste it in here, it's going to put that video for me right onto the website. So now you can see it's just like the pictures that I had before, where I can stretch it and make it a different size. I can click it and kind of move it. You'll see those grid lines that we talked about before. So it kind of shows you the spacing so you can get it set right in the center. So that would be using the embed piece. You also, like I said, can use your Drive. So when you click on that, if you have something that's a Google Doc, you can put that directly in. If you have a slideshow, you can put that directly in. If you have, let's see, I'll put in this one just to show you. This one is a seesaw activity, but you'll get the idea, I think. All I did was double click on this one, and then you'll see it's going to load up here. Maybe you've seen on other websites before that when you see these numbers here on the bottom, when it's in public view, you can actually click through the slide deck that way. So again, really good for a class website or something for induction. That if you have something for one of your inquiries that you wanted to put in, you could put that directly in, and the user doesn't have to click on a link and then go to another tab. It literally will show up right there. So that is adding things directly from your Drive. And again, anything in your Drive will show up there. You also have these additional pieces down here. So you can add what's called a collapsible group, which literally is just something for them to open, table of contents. I'm not going to read through all of these because I think you get it, but it's nice to know that you can go directly to them this way as well. So instead of going and embedding and finding it, you could go directly to YouTube and it would bring it up that way. All right. Real quick, I see Katrina says, I created a page, then decided I want to change the name. I changed it on the page, but it didn't change in the menu. How do I change the name of the menu? No, I'm here for your questions. I'm so glad you're asking. All right. So it didn't change up here at all, I think is what you're saying. Go to pages. That's where it is. And what you'll want to do is you'll click on the 3 jelly beans there. Then you should be able to properties. Go ahead and
Okay.
click on properties. And then that
Super. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yes. So everything in here is always editable. So I'm glad that you asked. We just have to remember where it is and find it. But yes, you can definitely change those at any time. I know it seems like a lot. And so that's kind of why we start with just doing the text box and the images, because that's kind of the basics and what you're going to be doing most of the time. But it is really nice that they give you these other options. And as time goes on, I would recommend definitely playing around with these things. The image carousel looks really fancy once you get it up and going. So if you have multiple images and you click on the image carousel, it will put in the pictures for you and it kind of slides through like a slideshow. So that looks really slick once you get it up and going. But don't overwhelm yourself. Don't try to do all of it at once. Just kind of stick to the basics at first and then we'll get there. All right. Once you have done quite a bit to your site, you can actually do a couple of things. You can preview your site, and then you can also publish your site. So again, this video or short GIF is here. It will show you how to do this so that if you forget later, you can always come back to it. But let me jump into my site that I've been working on today and show you what I mean. So this is my live site that we've been kind of playing with and building. You'll notice up on the top here, you have, you have your undo and your redo, which is always nice. Thank you, Google. But you also have what they call now preview. And if you'll click on that, it will actually put it into a preview mode. It's not published. Nobody else can find it yet. This is just the preview. But I want you to notice down on the bottom, this black toolbar. Right now, it's in what's considered a large screen or a full screen mode. You can also see what it will look like on a tablet. It will automatically show you the resized version or a phone. And maybe you've noticed before when you've been on websites and you can't necessarily see everything on your phone. You kind of have to try to slide it or drag it back and forth on the screen. Google actually adapts for that. So it's really nice. You'll see that it's taken all of these images. You'll notice, remember that when they were in full screen, they're actually off to the left. But when it's on a phone, if someone were using my website, it would actually put it all there for them and they would just scroll up and down. So it's a really nice feature that you can see what that's going to look like. I recommend checking it out, not all the time, but every once in a while, just to kind of give you some perspective on what your audience is going to see. The other nice thing about this is, remember that Google is really good about always saving everything for you. So you'll always be able to find your Google site in your Drive again. You can always do that, or go back to your waffle and click on sites, and all of those ones that were on the bottom of my screen is where yours is going to now show up. So it's really nice that it's saving it for us, and you have an option of some previews. When you think it's ready, you can always go ahead and publish. And I'm going to click publish now. And let me just share with you that it gives you the opportunity to add a name for it. Well, you have to add a name, Nicole's Cool Site. And you'll notice here that it adds it to the end of the sites.google.com web address. So it's making a custom link for you. You can also manage who is going to view your site. So for example, if you were using this for students to create something, you might want them to make it just so that people in redlandschools.net can see it. That way, not everybody in the whole wide world sees it, and it kind of keeps it in a safe, what we call a sandbox for them. Just people with our Google address would be able to see it. But you could make it for parents where you would change the link, and now you would make it so that anybody with the link would be able to see it, because parents aren't going to have that redlandschools.net account. They would not be able to see it if you didn't change it to anyone with the link. So by doing that, now you'll see here that anyone with the link would be able to see the published site out in the public. When you are done with that, and you click on publish. Oh, I should explain this part too, because this is really good. The search engine piece. If you do not want, for example, students' websites to show up in the search, a Google search, you would go ahead and click that off, and then they would not show up for them in a Google search. So that's an interesting, nice piece to have as well. When you are done, you will click publish, and don't panic, because you can always go back and edit again. So now my site here has a link that I could, this is the link that I could take and put on the school website, so that I would be able to, so that I would be able to link parents out to my own website, or students, or whoever you're sharing it with. You would just copy this link and paste it in there. You also can see here the settings. You can go back to that. You can review changes if you were making them. You can view the site as a published site, or you can unpublish it. So publishing always sounds so official and final to me, but it's nice that they give you the feature to unpublish as well. Let me show you what the view published site looks like. You're going to see now that it doesn't have any of those, sorry, I got to change the tab. There you go. It doesn't have any of those editing tools on the side. For mine, though, since I am an editor, I still have this tiny pencil, and I could click that to go back to the editing tools. When the public is looking at it, since they don't have an editor's link, they won't have that option. They would just see the site as is like this, and they would be able to move through all of the different tabs that we've put up there so far. The other things that we've got here for you are just some ideas of ways that you can use Google Sites. Like I've talked about a lot, having a website for students or parents. I've also seen sites that have been used as a unit of study. So again, the students would go to that site over and over again throughout a couple of weeks to get their work or all of their resources that they need. Same thing for a project or an event that we've seen. A lot of times even schools will do a site just, for example, for their back to school night, or their book fairs, or different things, just depending on what your site wants. The real magic and the fun comes when you start using this with your students. And I know Renee has done this, I think. Renee, am I right? You did this a couple years ago? Yes, she had her students actually building websites that they were putting all of their information. So, like a project where you're building a report and you're kind of just giving them the ideas of what needs to be on the website, asking them to have, so much information or dates or, if it's about an animal or a planet or whatever, you could go through all of that. So, there are a ton of ideas that are out there. We would recommend that you kind of poke around a little bit on the internet and see how Google Sites are being used for students, and maybe find something that you can even kind of replicate, but put your own spin on things. So lots of ideas out there for creating a Google site with your students. We do have some additional resources and support. And so this link here will take you back to our website that I was showing earlier. And you'll notice that we do have a lot of pages up along the top here. We've actually run out of room and we still have even more. So we've got quite a bit of information, but we've been building this over quite a few years. We have all of the workshops, like I was saying, today's recorded session is going to be found here later. We have a ton of tutorials on all of these different things that you can find. We now have a new section for the Newline boards. So if you're getting one of those large display monitors, all of this information, again, we've built it in Google Sites, so it's kind of a nice example that you can use, but then also want you to know that it's there for you as a support as well. We're closing down on the end here. If you were just kind of following along and did not go to Google Sites yet, I did put this same link in here for you again, and wanted to remind you can always find it at your waffle as well. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take those now. Or
Sorry, me again.
okay.
So I went on Megan Campbell's website.
Okay.
And it just, how does she, because when we did it, everything's so boxy when we do certain themes and layouts. How does she have these cute little round meet the teacher, email the teacher, all
So
these,
cute,
how does
right?
it look like that instead of
So I'll
big
share my
boxy?
screen so
Yeah.
people can see what we're talking about. I'm going to give you two things. I don't know exactly what Megan has done here, but I have seen this on Teachers Pay Teachers.
Okay.
I would not recommend paying for it.
Okay.
I would definitely say try getting into Canva. We have
Oh
done
yeah.
a session on that as well, and you can do all of these things on Canva, and then you would save it as an image and upload it as an image.
Yeah.
When you are in Google Sites, sorry, I can't find my cursor. When you are in Google Sites, so on the image here, which basically is what the circles are that Megan has put on her website, she's clicked on link and then just linked it to where it's wanted to go. So you can see here that you can actually link to another page as well. And I think, oops, if we were to click on any of these for Megan's, yep, it'll take us to, oh, sorry, you can't see that one. No. Take us to another page. So here's her homework tab up here, but then also on the home page, she can click up here, or you can click right on this one here and it links you right to it. There are lots of things that you can, like I said, purchase. I mean, you're welcome to purchase them if you want. If you've ever been into Canva before, there's also a ton that you can make very easily. You go to YouTube and then you put in Redlands in Tech. You'll see all of our videos here. So I know, here it is right here, Canva for Education. So you could go there and it will show you how to create things in Canva that are cutesy and same stuff that you would buy on TPT or any of those sites. Good questions. And then also let you know that you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to help and I can meet with you or we can jump on another Google Meet. I can go answer questions through email, whatever's easiest for you. I'm happy to help with this. This is a fun thing, especially For me, I really enjoy creating Google Sites. And honestly, I hope that you do too, now that you've got a little bit of background here with what you can do and all of the possibilities. Besides that, that kind of concludes the session. So I will stay on and answer any questions. But again, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it. And I hope that you feel like you learned a little bit from the session. Thank you.